Monday, Apple held their 2019 Worldwide Developers Conference, where they blazed through the new software updates and features coming to the latest versions of their major operating systems: tvOS, watchOS, iOS, and macOS, alongside an all-new dedicated iPadOS to bring more desktop-class features to Apple's leading tablet. tvOS for Apple TV is bringing an all-new interface, with multiple profile support for different people in your household, as well as Control Center and time-synced lyrics for music. But one of the most exciting updates for Apple TV is that with the new Apple Arcade service coming out soon, you'll be able to use gamepads from other systems such as Xbox and PlayStation to play games from the App Store on your Apple TV. Overall, they spent the least amount of time on tvOS, but there are some welcome improvements that many will find useful going forward. watchOS for Apple Watch will bring several new watch faces, including a gradient watch face and a classic California watch face. And as they do every season, Apple has released some new watch band colors for the summer, and released a new Pride watch band for the month of June. There will also be some new stock apps coming to the watch, and Apple will allow more native apps to exist on the watch without iPhone companion apps. And there will be an option to turn on automatic software updates as well. There will also be support for direct audio streaming to the watch through Apple Music or other services. So overall, Apple Watch is becoming less reliant on the iPhone, which makes sense in the long run. But Apple isn't stopping there, making an entirely dedicated app store for the Apple Watch to host specific apps with functionalities that are better suited for a mobile device on your wrist. And in terms of activity monitoring, there will be an all-new Activity Trends feature that allows you to look at differences in your activity over time, whether it be a month or a year, to show how you've been doing and what you may need to work on. A couple other new features Apple focused on during the keynote were an ambient noise volume app that allows you to set alerts when the decibel level around you is harmful to your hearing. And they noted it does not record audio or send audio from the device, but just monitors the volume level occasionally. And for women out there, there is a new Menstrual Cycle App that allows you to track your cycle and fertility in the watch and in the Health app on iPhone. They put a real emphasis on data and how you have complete control over your data and nothing gets sent to Apple without your consent, which is important nowadays because Apple is probably the most cautious about your data and your privacy compared to other tech companies out there. Next up is iOS 13, which brings a whole host of new features, including upgrades to the speed of the interface, as well as organization of certain apps, and even redesigns of apps completely. For one thing, Face ID unlock is going to be 30% faster, and updates to the App Store mean that downloads for apps will be 50% smaller and have 60% smaller updates over time. There will also be 2 times the app launch speed across iOS to get to what you want to do faster. But one of the most exciting and anticipated features of iOS 13 is that there is finally a dark mode, which of course Apple introduced in the most dramatic way possible. The new dark mode will work across the entire iOS interface across all the stock apps and is easily implemented for those third-party apps. Among the cool aesthetic, it also reduces eye strain and overall battery life consumption. As mentioned previously, some of the apps have been redesigned from the ground up, including the Reminders app, which is built with more organization and quick functions to add reminders to the app easily and efficiently. And getting another major update is the Maps app, which is also completely rebuilt from the ground up, with new land and aerial data collected for more detail in the map, as well as easy functions, and the ability to create collections of points of interests in your favorite cities, or just if you're planning a trip somewhere. There's also a new look around mode, which is similar to Google Street View, that has a picture-in-picture overlay on the map interface that allows you to drag around an icon to see on the ground level wherever you drag it on the map. And just like functionality that companies like Facebook and Google have introduced for logging into other websites using your credentials, Apple will introduce a new Sign-in with Apple feature. But in this case, it's more protected, with random email creation for your privacy, and choosing what info you want to share right on the spot. It also uses your device's authentication method, whether it be Face ID or Touch ID, to log in going forward. HomeKit gains the ability to access secure feeds to your connected security cameras around your home, so that you can view or review recordings wherever you are, using a secure connection. And of course, it wouldn't be an event these days without some updates to Emoji or Animoji, in this case with the addition of many new customization options, as well as auto-generated stickers for the keyboard that pop up in the Emoji window, so that you can add stickers to whatever app you want to use them in. Additionally, Apple is also introducing some updates to portrait lighting details, and a new simple adjustments interface for photos for quick edits to things like lighting and saturation levels, as well as video now, allowing you to even rotate the video. Going further, the Photos app will have better organization for photos and videos, with smart grouping and active previews as you scroll through them. Siri will be gaining some updates and improvements across all systems, including announced messages on AirPods, audio sharing between devices, music handoff between HomePod and your devices, you can also ask Siri to play live radio stations across internet music services like iHeartRadio, and the Siri Shortcuts app unveiled last year will be built into iOS going forward. Not only that, but Siri is getting a whole new voice yet again, with a neural text-to-speech method that uses completely computer-generated voice, and no longer relies on mashups of sounds, for overall more natural-sounding responses.
Absolute zero is the lowest limit of the thermodynamic temperature scale, a state at which the enthalpy and entropy of a cooled ideal gas reach their minimum value, taken as zero.
Alright, so that's okay. But now let's try iOS 13 with neural text-to-speech.
Absolute zero is the lowest limit of the thermodynamic temperature scale, a state at which the enthalpy and entropy of a cooled ideal gas reach their minimum value, taken as zero.
Way better.
Of course, there are so many more updates that they couldn't cover on stage, including dual iCloud support for personal and business use, and improved search in messages, just to name a couple. But expect these to be fully fleshed out in the coming days and months before release. Now, you may have noticed one thing missing from my iOS 13 talk, and that is iPad, because iPad has its own new operating system called iPadOS, with all the same features of iOS 13, but more desktop-class features as well that bring it closer in line to a Mac system. First of all, you'll be able to add more apps to each home screen, and you can even pin widgets to the home screen as well now, for a more custom view of apps and information. Sidebar apps will have their own multitasking app window, and split screen view will now support two windows from the same app to work side by side. And split screen windows will show up in the multitasking view as well. Even composing mail will get a little easier, with the ability to add the composition window to split screen view next to your inbox, so you can drag and drop different elements from other emails to the new one you're composing. And now with iPadOS, the file system is getting a little bit more useful, because the system will now support file transfer via flash drive, and have a download manager from downloads on Safari. Speaking of Safari, Safari is going to be a completely desktop class browser going forward. No more prompting you for a mobile version, or to download the corresponding app for that website to access needed functionality. With this, Apple will be adding 30 new keyboard shortcuts for the iPad, with easy text selection just from holding and dragging your finger, as well as 3-finger gesture support for functions like cut, copy, paste, undo, and redo. Apple Pencil is even seeing some improvements, with improved industry-leading 9 millisecond latency, down from the 20 milliseconds it was before. But keep in mind, you won't need to update your Pencil for this. And Pencil Kit will now be available for third-party apps to access all the functionalities of the Apple Pencil. You'll even have quick access to markup with an edge swipe, and a movable markup toolbar to different parts of the screen. All in all, iPadOS looks promising, and hopefully these improvements will make it a more functional replacement to a desktop computer. While there weren't many design changes to the interface, there's a lot of feature improvements and updates that bring great new functionality across all devices, from tvOS to watchOS to iOS, as well as the new iPadOS, bringing features that people have been asking for a long time to the iPad. Stay tuned for another video this week where I cover the new Mac Pro that was also announced at the event, and macOS. But let me know what you think of all the new feature updates across all major platforms down in the comments below. And while you're there, feel free to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe and hit that bell to get new videos coming to this channel. Until next time, I'm Sean X Tech.